Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today for JETRO Chicago's Jconnect Webinar Series. My name is Kevin Cowell, Business Development Specialist from JETRO Chicago, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. Our topic for today is medical devices healthcare, and we're bringing you 3 companies from Ohio, Florida, and California to share their innovative technologies and what they're doing to improve the world of healthcare. If this is your first time attending a Jconnect webinar, our focus is to help connect innovative North American startups to Japanese affiliated companies doing business here in North America, and most importantly, to facilitate business relationships between the two. Likewise, it aims to improve the productivity of Japanese companies and to help accelerate their open innovation strategies. JETRO recently added a landing page for the Jconnect Webinar Series on our JETRO USA webpage. You can find dates and information on upcoming industry topics, as well as recordings of our previous webinars. Today's webinar recording should be available on the site within 48 hours. So again, please check out JETRO USA's website. I would like to now share a few housekeeping notes prior to beginning the webinar. First, unfortunately, today's webinar does not offer simultaneous interpretation. But as I mentioned, the webinar will be recorded and the video will be available to you after the event. Here's how to operate the control panel for questions. Your microphones are muted to avoid noises. For this reason, questions should be entered in the box labeled question in the control panel. You can also leave a question in the chat. You can vote up questions that you have interest in. All of the questions will be answered during the panel session after the 3 presentations have concluded. In the unlikely event that the webinar system shuts down for any reason, we will reboot the system for you. Please log in again for a few minutes using the Join Webinar button. You will also be asked to complete a survey questionnaire, which is important for JETRO to understand how to improve our Jconnect series. So I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Jeffrey Klass, CEO of Sense Neurodiagnostics. Sense Neuro is a med tech startup located in Cincinnati, Ohio, and has developed a technology to detect, measure, and monitor neurological disorder of the brain in real time, non-invasively. The initial focus of the company is stroke and traumatic brain injury. Further bio and company information can be found for the speakers on our registration page. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you now, Jeff, if you want to go ahead and take over the screen. And unmute yourself.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kevin, and thank you all for attending today's event. Let me bring my presentation up here. Okay, thank you. And as Kevin said, we at Sense Neuro have developed technology to detect, measure, and monitor neurological disorder of the brain. And we do so in real time, and we do so non-invasively. Our focus at first here is on stroke and traumatic brain injury. And the reason being, with stroke and traumatic brain injury, there is a real problem. And the problem is that time is brain. So that somebody suffering from a stroke or a traumatic brain injury really needs to be able to get to the right treatment at the right hospital as quickly as possible. However, because of inabilities to triage patients and inabilities to monitor patients while they're in the neuro ICU, this doesn't happen often. And as a result, the time to proper treatment is compromised, and this results in permanent disability and even death. So the volume is massive. So this is a very big problem. We have numbers here in the US and the EU alone for stroke and traumatic brain injury, stroke being 1.5 million people, TBI 5.5 million. But we have been able to really expand our focus worldwide, and I'll explain that in a minute. So we've had good progress on how we're going to develop commercially. But our solution for stroke and traumatic brain injury is a non-invasive brain scanner that can assess and monitor the status of this patient in real time. And how it works, what we have here on the left of the screen is, this is our headset that we would use in the neuro ICU where a patient needs to be monitored. So in the device, there's 9 antennae, and these antennae pass radio waves through the brain, and they pass them through very low power. It's 1/500th out of a cell phone. But as these radio waves pass through the brain, they're absorbed and scattered by the matter through which they pass. Normal brain tissue gives us a very distinct read. However, when it hits blood, which is a result of a hemorrhage, or ischemic tissue, which is caused by a large vessel being blocked or small vessel blockages in the brain, that signal gets altered. So we have algorithms then that calculate all the signals, and from that we're able to determine if somebody's having a stroke, what type of stroke that may be, or if they are hemorrhaging from a traumatic brain injury. The scan takes all of 40 seconds, and 700 data points are collected, but the important thing is we analyze the entire cranial vault. This means all the way down into the brainstem, where we've been able to see bleeds as small as 1 milliliter. That's about the size of a pea, very tiny. In our first in human trials, we had 100% specificity and sensitivity and 100% correspondence to CAT scan results. So all of this is very good, which allows us, as I said, to distinguish between all stroke subtypes and hemorrhages from the TBI. So we're developing 2 devices using the exact same technology. One will be used in the field by EMS personnel, emergency personnel who come upon a stroke, a potential stroke patient or traumatic brain injury patient. They're able to put this device on their patient's head, and again, within 40 seconds, it's going to tell them if they do have a bleed or if they're having a stroke and what that stroke subtype is. It's very important because then they have effectively triaged their patient and can take them to the right hospital for treatment. The other device for use in hospital will be for ongoing monitoring of the patient. So when the patient is in the neuro ICU, they have no method in either of these ways of assessing what's going on in the patient's brain. Our device is going to monitor anyone that has a potential for an expanding bleed, and we will alarm if in fact that bleed expands so that the hospital personnel could take action as quickly as possible. They don't have any objective way of measuring what's going on inside the brain. They use a very subjective analysis called the Glasgow Coma Scale, where they look in their patient's eyes, they have them speak, have them move, and from that they give them a score, and that score tells them, well, maybe they are having a stroke or having this kind of stroke or may have a brain bleed, but they aren't looking inside the patient's head. So this allows them to effectively do that. And why it's important in this graph here, it shows that if a patient is properly triaged in the field and brought to the right hospital at the right time for treatment, their probability for recovery is quite good. However, often these patients aren't delivered to the right hospital. And by the time they are finally seen, assessed, it takes about 5 hours before they're delivered to the right hospital. Now you have 6 hours from onset. And as you can see, permanent disability is now a probability. And any longer than that, we could be moving on to death. In the case of someone in the neuro ICU in the hospital who's, has the possibility of having a bleed expand, they're doing that same subjective assessment of that patient. They come in every hour and they ask them the same questions and do the same thing. In this, in this graph here, this is an actual patient in the neuro ICU. They were put in there, they had a bleed in their brain at 22 milliliters. We, as we're monitoring the brain, saw that bleed expand. In a clinical world, when that expansion is hit 3 milliliters, we will alarm, and the hospital personnel will then come and they could take the action necessary in order to stop the bleed. In this patient's case, the hospital did not pick up the bleed expansion until hour 7 because the symptoms of the expanded bleed just don't readily present themselves. This allows us to find it very early, which is really going to improve patient outcomes. So we do have clinical evidence. In the 10 patients that we enrolled, as I said before, we had 600 hours of monitoring time, 3,600 scans performed. We picked up those 2 that had expansions, and we had 100% correspondence to to CPT results, which means, you know, we were very accurate, no false positives, no false negatives. How we match up to our competition, oh, let me go back to this too. It's not on the screen, but we're also in the middle of another first-in-human study for stroke differentiation. And we've been having the same very positive results in the stroke differentiation of these patients. So we have picked up that expanding bleed. We picked up small ischemic tissue, about 3 milliliters, and we have been able to pick up a large vessel blockage where half the brain is deprived of blood. Our competition, they're all trying to make devices for use in the field. Most of them are minimized to that they can only see a large vessel blockage, which is really only 1/3 of the problem. We see all three, and we also see hemorrhage from a TBI. And we're also the only company that is making a device for ongoing monitoring of the patient while they're in the neuro ICU. So from a market standpoint, we're going to enter the US hospital market first through the comprehensive stroke centers and trauma centers, at 3,000 of them in the country. We're selling it will be sold on a razor blade model. So the scanner, one-time sale under 5,000. The headset will be sold for about 500, and that's not reusable, that headset. So it's a one-time use only. So that's how the hospital market will be approached. In the field, we're going to go directly to the ambulance and the EMT markets, but we're going to leverage our relationships with the hospital and trauma centers, because typically those doctors are the chief medical officers for the ambulance company. So they would provide the proper leverage and recommendation to them to pick up the device and put it in the ambulances. We're going to have a variable revenue model only because you have different structures of ownership of those ambulance companies. But there's 45,000 of them nationally here in the US. The military has become an absolutely very important customer for us. Both the US military and NATO have direct interest in us. TBI is a signature wound in the military today. We were supposed to go to NATO and meet at the university or at the Center for Medical Excellence in Budapest. That was put off because of COVID, but we have just been asked to submit for a contract with the US military for $3 million to develop a detection and monitoring device for the use in US military. India, also another very important market for us. Stroke is the second leading cause of death. Also, traumatic brain injuries. They have over 500,000 people die a year from traumatic brain injury. So we are going to be doing our pivotal trial for FDA and India regulatory approval, both the US and India, and we will be approved simultaneously in both countries. And we already have manufacturing and distribution set up in India. Canada is also going to be a partner for us, only very natural given location. But more importantly, we're looking at Canada up in the Montreal, Quebec area, because they have very strong R&D capabilities for our future tech applications. Where we stand right now, we're about to start our pivotal trial for FDA approval. That starts this month, and that will take us on for about 18 months before that's completed. The good thing about our technology, it's very much a platform technology. This is not one-time use only for traumatic brain injury and stroke. Our next step will be in tumor. We're already in discussion with a group of oncologists and neuroradiologists because we feel that we are going to be able to very easily see brain tumor because it's a completely different tissue than normal brain matter. We'll also look at applications, as you can see, in MS, Parkinson's, dementia, and all of that. We have a great team here. That's what makes it happen. Three of our founders, Dr. Shaw, Eddie Oye, Flaherty, are very active in the company. Dr. Korfhagen's been working on this technology for 10 years. Dan Kincaid, our COO, he's a serial entrepreneur. He's had positive exits. Myself, I have executive experience at General Electric, along with Pfizer, and deep experience in the neuro space for innovation. Also have a good, scientific advisory board, which is very important to any company. So why somebody might want to invest and why we're creating this product, there is a huge unmet clinical need for this. and the market is tremendous. You saw the worldwide numbers, and that's what we're shooting for. We've had great results from all of our trials so far. And then the fact that we can have multiple applications of our device is very, very critical to the future growth of the company. Our exit strategy, when we do go to such a time, we're already in discussion with 3 of these companies who have been following our trial results, and we speak with them about once a quarter and keep them up to date. So there's already extreme interest with some very important companies out in the field. So that's our presentation for today. I thank you for your time and look forward to any questions you may have after we're done.
Okay, thank you, Jeff, so much. Excellent presentation, excellent technology. I'm going to go ahead and initiate a poll here. I'll go ahead and start introducing our next speaker, Dr. Kiminobu Sugaya, who is a professor and head of neuroscience in the College of Medicine at the University of Central Florida since 2004. Dr. Sugaya is also a founder and CEO of Progenocyte, which is a biotech company licensing his 67 patents from UCF. Recently, he funded Synapsite to commercialize his novel pharmacological approach to increase endogenous stem cells, and Progenocyte Japan to introduce all his innovative technologies to Asia. Dr. Sugaya, if you want to go ahead and take over the screen here.
All right. Okay.
Okay, looks good.
You see?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to make this presentation, and thank you for coming, everybody, here today. So, Progenocyte Japan. Before, I want to talk about the Progenocyte. Progenocyte established in Orlando, 2008. That holds more than 60 patents, which I generated in the University of Central Florida. That include the iPS, induced pluripotent stem cells, small molecules, nucleic acid, medicine, and the information technologies. So then the Progenocyte Japan is a bio venture company, bring all these technology to the world. That's the mission. And then the right-hand side, you can see the our medical campus. That's in Orlando Medical City, we call. And then the originally University of Central Florida, that's established for NASA. But now it's the second largest university in US. And then the technology-wise, very advanced. And then we are collaborating with Disney to make all those happy things too. So then the Progenocyte Japan, we just established the Progenocyte Japan this year, earlier, January 24th, in Kobe City with the help of JETRO. And then these are the board members of the Progenocyte Japan. So then this is the main business development. First thing is bringing the regenerative medicine to the clinic sooner, because I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but such as stem cells transplantation is cumbersome. So we want to overcome those problems. So then the second is the development of the cancer therapeutics. And then the third one is the development of information technologies. And then one of them I'm going to talk about today. That's networkable handheld real-time PCR machine. This machine, actually, we created 3 years ago for the other viral problem, but the patent is pending now. And then this device is so tiny. I don't know if you can see my screen well. My screen is so small, but anyway, so it's in my hand, only this size. And then in the bottom, you can see even here, you can see this cartridge, which holds the PCR tubes. It's only one tube, but because of that, the heat block and then those things are much more effective. And then it cycles very rapidly. And then the very low concentration of the viral particles, we can detect in 20 minutes or 30 minutes or so. And then this is actual results from this device. on the top, you can see the microview, and the microview give you this kind of information. And then as you can see here, you can see the dose response of this. And then here's a very small amount. That's 10 to the 5 in ml. So then if we add like just microliter, that's even less, almost a negligible amount of the viral particle we can detect. It's a PCR, so that's about it. And then better yet, this one we can connect through the network. And then since this device is extremely compared to the current PCR machine, you can buy like this one more than 100 with the current price of the PCR machine. And then this one connectable to the network. That means that this information can go to anywhere. And then with another medical device, we are establishing the remote diagnostic device. So then like this COVID-19 pandemic, right? So then everybody can use this one at home, and then maybe they can check their situation with the doctors, and then the doctor receive those information in central place, and then they can say something to them, go to the hospital, stay home, or any other things they can do. Also, we're putting one more advanced technology here. So then this one using the nanotechnology. On the right-hand side of the bottom, you can see that the device itself, it's just like a sheet, small chip. And then on the chip, we have a DNA-based binding moiety, which binds to the target, in this case, COVID-19. And then if the COVID-19 binds, it's going to change the color. This one changing from orange to the kind of bluish color you can see. And then that's pretty much dose dependent as well. And then the sensitivity is very good enough to detect those virus in saliva. But still, this one is the developmental stage. And also, if we want to use the blood, this is the microfluidic system. You can separate the blood cells and then the plasma right away. Okay, so then that was the device. I know today's talk main focus is device, but our focus also this bringing regenerative medicine to the clinic sooner, because we found the small molecule compound you can take as a pill and then gets into the brain, and then that's increased the stem cells in the brain like 600 times, 600%, 7 times. So then that eliminate all those problems associated with the cell therapy now. And then the target for the our target is the Alzheimer and the Parkinson disease. That's the first target, but we are looking for the orphan disease as well. And then the better yet, this line of the compound also increase the other stem cells. For example, we can use as a topical application to the cosmetic purpose or the hair growth. So I'm in Florida. In Florida, we have a fountain of youth in St. Augustine. So Ponce de Leon found the fountain of youth, and then I went there, of course, immediately when I came to Florida. But the water wasn't so great, Floridian, nasty, smelly water. And matter of fact, this is the last moment of the Ponce de Leon. But the stem cells, that could be a fountain of youth. So then here you can see the large cells, that's the astrocyte. And then the small cells, that's the neurons. That's derived from the human neural stem cells. This is in vitro. I took the picture every 5 minutes, but still they're moving a lot. So then we decided to put this one into the animal, see what happens. So then the left side top, that's the aged memory impaired animal. Then the right hand side, oh, it's so quick. That's the animal, same animal, but with the stem cell transplantation. He gets to the goal even faster than the young animal. So then when we look at the brain, we can see the beautiful neurons formed in the cortex and in the hippocampus. Just beautiful neurons. Although this is the human cells in the rat, you can see that this green cells is much bigger than this blue. Those are the rat cells. But still, it's working. So then everybody got excited. They say, this is the answer. Even Caradura said that we can rebuild you. I didn't say that, but always back. That's the problem. The first thing is the immune response. Those are the cells from somebody else. That means your body not gonna like it. So it's gonna make an immune response. And then the cells transplanted are gonna be chewed up by your immune system. Another question. Those neural stem cells exist in the brain. Who's gonna give you the brain? No. So then to avoid that, maybe we need to do the human cloning and then get the fetus. You can see the heartbeat right here, right? But unfortunately, at this point, the human cloning is very, very, very difficult. So then the embryonic stem cells, they're great. But on the other hand, when we transplant the embryonic stem cells, you get this. This is a teratoma. You can see the teeth, hair, kidney, liver, everything there, because they are baby. They don't know what to become. That's why the embryonic stem cells are difficult to use. But by the environment, we have the different type of the stem cells. One is the neural stem cells existing in the brain. Another one is the mesenchymal stem cell existing in the peripheral tissue. But those are already committed. Neural stem cells makes the brain cells. Mesenchymal stem cells muscle bone cartilage. That means if we put this mesenchymal stem cells in your brain, you get the bone or the fat in your brain, like a bone head. So then we develop the technology which bring these cells a little bit back. Somebody called this one iPS cells, but we developed this one 1 year before Dr. Yamanaka developed his technology. But anyway, so then another, bring this one back and then teach them to become brain cells. That's what we can do. Another thing is your brain having stem cells. Why don't we just increase those stem cells? So this is a science talking about our finding compared to the Dr. Yamanaka's finding. In our patent, we describe this OCT4, SOX2 are the key genes to make the iPS cells. So he used those genes to make the iPS cells. So the regenerative medicine cells, we have to isolate or produce iPS. That's difficult. And the culture, and then the transplantation, that costs a lot. Not only costs a lot, it has a lot of issues, lots of problems. So I would say no. But our technology, we use the drug treatment. Just take a pill, like I say, and then increase your stem cells in your body. Wonderful. That's a revolution. That's a revolution of the regenerative medicine. We believe this is the future of the regenerative medicine, not the stem cell transplantation. Okay, so then this is the memory impaired animal brain. We stain for the stem cells. You don't see any stem cells. But if the memory okay one, still you can see some dots. Those are the stem cells. But our drug treatment, that's increased the stem cells tremendously. And then when we count, like I say, that's a 600% increase. This is the home of the stem cells. Again, is memory impaired animal having a less stem cells, but after drug treatment, both animal, you get this. Especially if you pay attention to this area, you can see a small dots a lot. So then this is the ventricle area, and then this is where the Parkinson patient losing dopaminergic innervation. So then we thought, okay, these cells migrate into those areas compared to the memory unimpaired one. So then this brain needed those cells migration. So we tested this one onto the like this animal model. This is the rotating, and then this animal having a Parkinsonism. So then he cannot hang on to the bar. But so this is the control, this blue are the control, and then this purple, that's the Parkinsonism animal. They cannot hang on to the bar, but after our treatment, case 2 and 7, you can see just the recovery, just like a normal mice. We tested, Alzheimer's disease, because it shows a tremendous effect in the Parkinson's disease, but we failed. So then we look into the Alzheimer's situation. Also, APP, amyloid precursor protein, that makes amyloid. We are not talking about amyloid. This is a precursor protein. And then in the low dose, we can see both neuron, green, glial, red, increased, but in the high dose, it's disappeared. So this could be the problem. So we did, when we checked those, the APP dose dependently increased the glial cells, but diminish the neurons from the stem cells. So then stem cells cannot make the neuron when the APP is high. So then we collaborate with the NIH, Nigel, he's a good friend of mine, and then he invented this penicillin. So we combine this penicillin. Actually, this is the results from the wild type animal. This is the transgenic animal. You can see the wild type animal without the penicillin, they can produce the beautiful neurons. But the transgenic animal, without the penicillin, without reducing the amyloid precursor protein, no neuron formed. But if we combine the penicillin, we can see the beautiful neurons. And then we did a water maze test again. This red is a normal animal. They can go to the target pretty good, goal pretty good. But the transgenic animal, no. But the combining with this our drug, case 2 and 7, we call it APC 100, then they behave just like a normal. And then when we look at the brain, same thing, normal control having a lot of stem cells, and then the new neurons formed, but the Alzheimer model, no. But after treatment, we can see the recovery of those. And this is just a little bit extra. We can increase the stem cells in the skin. This is the control. This is the medium dose. This is high dose, robust increase. Also, we can increase the stem cells in the cornea. You can see the red dots a little bit, but after our drug treatment, you can see a tremendous increase. That's just wow. And then as a result, we can grow the hair too. This animal lost the hair in this area. Even you can see the gray hair here. And then this is the area we apply the drug. If I enlarge it, it's just not growing back, but also it's totally black. So no gray hair. So that was our company's technology. And then we have more technology to have. And then for the business development wise, we can talk some other time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sugaya, for your presentation. Very interesting. So I'll go ahead and start introducing our final speaker, Chris Ellis, who is co-founder and CEO of AUDIOCARDIO, based in the Los Angeles area. AUDIOCARDIO is a digital hearing health and wellness company that has developed technology that aims to maintain and restore hearing. As CEO, Chris is leading AUDIOCARDIO's mission to deliver an easily accessible and affordable hearing loss solution while helping educate and raise awareness around hearing health and the secondary physical and mental health issues associated with it. And go ahead, Chris, if you want to go ahead and take over the screen here.
Okay, great. Let me share my deck here. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Chris Ellis, CEO and co-founder of AUDIOCARDIO. As mentioned, AUDIOCARDIO is a mobile app that aims to protect, maintain, and strengthen your hearing. You can think of us as physical therapy for your hearing. Because over 450 million people suffer from disabling hearing loss, and this means that hearing loss affects their ability to interact and communicate, especially in certain situations, like when dining at a restaurant or speaking in other group settings. And the number of people affected by disabling hearing loss is expected to double to more than 900 million people in the next 30 years. But the underlying problem is the lack of access to care, the expensive cost, and negative social stigma associated with solutions on the market. This is why most individuals don't seek professional help for at least 7 years after first noticing their hearing problems. But we shouldn't take hearing loss lightly, as it has many secondary physical and mental health issues associated with it. People with untreated hearing loss are up to 3 times more likely to fall and up to 5 times more likely to have dementia, a truly terrible disease that robs so many people of their lives. Individuals with untreated hearing loss also have an increased feeling of loneliness, since they are less likely to engage in social activities and participate in family events with a lot of individuals. This often leads to isolation and depression, one of the key concerns and topics being addressed in aging societies today. Our mission is personal. Back in 2016, I took my grandfather on a trip to Montana. During this time, I realized how bad his cognitive decline had become, as he could no longer laugh off or make an excuse for a lapse in his memory. After returning home, I started gathering information to learn more about memory loss and dementia when I came across a study from Johns Hopkins showing an association between dementia and untreated hearing loss. My grandfather was a hydraulics engineer in the Air Force and at a major airline. He suffered from severe hearing loss and refused to buy hearing aids. I watched his decline firsthand. He became frustrated, isolated, depressed, and then his decline really accelerated as he had dementia before he passed. As one of his caregivers, I knew that this was a problem that I wanted to solve. Fortuitously, I was introduced to my co-founder and inventor of our technology, who had been working to solve this problem for over a decade. My co-founder, Sam, noticed he could not hear certain sounds at decibel levels that he once could. He went to an audiologist, but they told him his hearing was perfectly fine. He knew this could not be the case, so he set out to find a more comprehensive digital hearing assessment and found a way to potentially reverse hearing loss. After many months of discussions and planning, we founded AUDIOCARDIO to help those in need. The AUDIOCARDIO app allows you to quickly assess your hearing and generates a personalized sound therapy that aims to maintain and strengthen your hearing by stimulating the cells at the barely audible level. By continuously stimulating these cells, we can cause them to fire together and wire together so that they can send the neural feedback or the sound signals to the brain where they are interpreted as meaningful sound. This firing and wiring promotes and supports the necessary pathways to allow these sound signals to reach the brain. And the more these cells fire and connect to each other, the more permanent these connections become. This makes it easier for these signals to travel to the brain. And because our sound therapy is barely audible, you can do it passively while you listen to music, work on a laptop, and while you fall asleep without interrupting those activities. I'll be taking you through a short walkthrough of the AUDIOCARDIO app now. I was hoping to show it in real time. However, I'll use these images on this screen to explain how the app works. As a first-time user, all you would want to do is go into a very quiet room and connect your headphones or earbuds to your device. To start the hearing assessment, all you would need to do is move this lever that you see in the far left corner here on that image, is move that lever up and then down to the point where you can barely hear that tone being played. We test 5 key frequencies on the left ear and 5 key frequencies on the right. So you will do these steps 10 times so that we can understand your threshold of sound for these particular frequency ranges. Upon completion of that, you will receive a hearing score, which is based on your age, your gender, and these inputs. Upon completing that and receiving your first score, all you would do is now in this middle screen is hit the Start Therapy button. You will not hear the sound therapy because it is at the barely audible or just inaudible level. And what happens over time is that as you use the app on a daily basis, that inaudible frequency will become louder and louder until you can actually recognize it or it interrupts any of those other activities that you're currently engaged in. And when that happens, you'll want to retake your assessment and then receive your new sound therapy for your new hearing levels to continue to drive down your threshold of sound. You can do this while you listen to music and do other activities, as I mentioned. But if you look on that middle screen, there's a music note icon. And by clicking that, you would simply be able to log into Spotify, Apple Music, and access your stored music so that you can listen to your favorite playlist while this sound therapy runs underneath. And to better understand how our technology works, I'll share a bit about how we process sound and introduce the concept of neuroplasticity. The cells in the snail-shaped cochlea are responsible for receiving sound waves from our environment and transmitting them to the brain. Cells in the cochlea are responsible for reacting to certain frequencies. In order for these cells to activate and send signals to the brain, they must reach a certain level of stimulation from the sound waves that are coming from our environment. As these cells get damaged, they require more stimulation to activate and send signals to the brain. AUDIOCARDIO identifies these damaged cells by using that as hearing assessment and stimulates them over and over until they reach enough stimulation that activates them and causes them to fire. And neuroplasticity is the belief that our brains can adapt, learn, and change throughout our lives. It was once believed that this was not possible after a certain age, but we now know this to be not true. By doing something over and over again, we can change our habits and how our brain recognizes that behavior. We like to think of the brain as billions of dirt roads. The more you use them, the easier they are to find, the easier they are to take, and eventually reach your destination. As we stop using them, the dirt roads begin to disappear and become harder to find, making it harder to reach your destination. Finding, promoting, and supporting these dirt roads with our sound therapy is precisely what we hope to accomplish by repeatedly playing sounds to help activate these cells inside your ears. Our goal is to help promote and support these dirt roads so that it's easier for sound to travel from our environment to your brain. The alternatives in the marketplace are your traditional hearing aid brands, corrective surgeries, and even some prescription medications. But as previously mentioned, these treatments are expensive, hard to access, and often have a negative stigma associated with them. Only AUDIOCARDIO has a clinically proven technology that can be incorporated into your day-to-day life without the expensive costs and the negative stigma. Our business model includes a direct-to-consumer subscription, along with enterprise sales and licensing opportunities targeting the brands like the ones you see at the bottom of the screen. In this model, AUDIOCARDIO can be sold to individuals or be utilized as a corporate wellness benefit for your employees. Organizations with loud work environments like manufacturing and others in insurance and health are best suited for this type of partnership. Our licensing model will be best suited for hardware and software companies ranging from headphone brands to software applications like music streaming services and other health and wellness platforms. By licensing our technology, brands would be able to extend their services and the benefits that they can provide to their customer base while increasing revenue. End user benefits different from business benefits, however, they are aligned in reducing risk, improving quality of life for individuals, while saving money and providing better outcomes for the overall business. We've conducted multiple clinical trials with institutions like Stanford University, Palo Alto Medical Foundation, and Samsung Medical Center, with over 70% of the participants having a significant change in their hearing by 10 decibels or more within 2 weeks. Our patents have been granted. We received $50,000 in annual funding from the FDA through our CTIP Accelerator program and won the 2020 Center for Aging and Brain Health Innovation Award from CABI, which is supported by Baycrest Hospital in Toronto, Canada. Specifically, our double-blind study with Stanford University and Palo Alto Medical Foundation showed a significant change of more than 10 decibels in over 75% of the participants and found no safety issue with our algorithm or sound therapy. I'd like to share one particular testimonial with you. Sylvia is a journalist from a health newsletter in the United States. She had her husband try the app as he has hearing loss and currently wears hearing aids. After using our app for several weeks, he started to notice new sounds. He was able to hear his bedside clock again. He was woken up by thunder for the first time in over a decade and could hear birds chirping in the backyard, something he had forgotten that he was even missing. These are the stories that we are collecting from our customers on a weekly basis, clearly showing the impact that we are making not only on their lives, but also in the lives of their loved ones. These are some user results that we have collected. This is one particular user that shows how much that they have used the application over time, as well as their threshold of sound decreasing, which means that they can actually pick up these sounds at lower volume levels. So if you look at this green line here on the graph, you can see that as usage goes up here in the December 18th, or excuse me, the December 10th timeframe, as usage goes up, they are starting to get more and more of the effect. So this person was able to change their hearing on the, let's see, left ear in the 4,000 or 8,000 hertz range by more than 10 decibels. And the same goes for this blue line in the right ear. Our team is made up of technologists and scientists that have come together to solve this problem. Our co-founder, Sam, is the inventor of our technology and an award-winning music composer that holds 5 patents related to hearing. He studied systematic musicology at Seoul National University and was a PhD candidate in cognitive acoustics at UCLA before founding AUDIOCARDIO. We have also been a part of multiple exits, and our advisors are experts in IP licensing, worked at the National Institutes of Health, and continue to assist us in our day-to-day business, including leading our previous trials. Thank you for your time today. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Chris. Excellent presentation. Very useful technology for, we all know somebody with hearing loss. So we'll get ready for our panel sessions. So if you have some more questions, please continue to put them into the chat or to the Q&A section on Zoom. And I wanted to let you know that we are planning to have upcoming Jconnect webinars on the topics of cybersecurity on September 15th, blockchain on October 1st, and robotics AI software on October 22nd. We hope you can join. Those will all be at the same time, the 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time. And as I mentioned previously, you can check out our new Jconnect landing page for further registration details and information on those upcoming webinars. They're not currently active, but they will be soon. So, and we're going to go ahead and move to the Q&A session here. Let me pull up some of the questions that we're receiving here. And I was just going to start off with a kind of a general question here. How has the pandemic impacted the market for your company, whether in the US or abroad? And maybe have you seen any type of drop in business because of the drop in elective procedures? Or I don't know if anybody wants to kind of tackle that first. Dr. Sugaya?
Yeah. Okay, so then the pandemic, before pandemic, I went to Japan several times. I mean, like 3 times per month. But now I cannot. But on the other hand, we have this kind of opportunity. So I don't have to fly, which is good, right? For the market-wise, that's why we are developing those viral detection system focusing. And also we are developing the COVID-19 treatment as well. Although I cannot disclose anything here. So then something bad, something good. That's my feeling.
Jeff, do you have any feedback for that?
So it hasn't affected us from a commercial standpoint because we aren't selling that way yet.
Yeah.
We had expected to start our pivotal trial for FDA approval back last March. So that ended up getting delayed for 6 months, and we're starting it now. But that's the real effect it's had on us, just delay of our research.
Chris, do you have any comment to that?
Yeah, we're remotely delivered solution. So in terms of product, not much has changed. However, our strategies we were working with quite a few different live events, sporting leagues and motorsports. And so that all had to shift and, unfortunately can't go into senior communities right now. So we've shifted to the corporate wellness and direct-to-consumer model during COVID.
Okay, and Chris, while I have you on here, do you have Japanese or Chinese available for your app, or is it strictly English right now, or?
It is strictly English right now. We are looking at localizing for Japan through some other opportunities we're working on in the region.
Okay. I'll go back to Jeff here. How is this device for NeuroSense different from Cerebrotech, their device? And has that also used pulsed radio wave tech for stroke detection?
No, so we're different from Cerebrotech in a couple ways. Cerebrotech is able to detect a large vessel blockage, which is, as I said, 1/3 of the problem when somebody's having a stroke. It's either a large vessel is blocked or small vessels have been blocked and there's small ischemic tissue. And then we also are able to see hemorrhages. And the hemorrhages we could see are as small as 1 milliliter. We've seen data from Cerebrotech that says they could detect hemorrhage, but at the level of 60 milliliters. Well, when someone's at a level of 60 milliliters, their probability of survival is not very good. We use radio waves. So it's, radio waves are like radar. It's a very simple technology. And what it's doing, it's looking real time, through the brain. And it's done so in very low power. So, the technology, although I'll say it's simple, it isn't. The algorithms are quite complex. And, getting it all worked to the way that it does is not that easy. But, the technology is very effective across the whole spectrum of what you want to be able to see in the brain.
Okay, Dr. Sugaya, current PCR devices can do 96 plus samples at once. How many samples can it run at one time?
This is only one. You might think that's low, but the good thing is now we have the device 96 samples. So we have to accumulate the sample to run those things. But we can run each sample one by one. And then the price of this one, less than 100 times of the current PCR unit. So then you can have 100 of these right now. And then whenever the customer comes in, you can do the PCR, sit it. You can do the PCR, sit it. And then you don't have to wait for the accumulation of the sample. And also another thing is this device having a so tiny moving unit and then such a heating block. So then the speed is much faster than the conventional one. Thank you.
Okay, Chris, I have a couple questions here. How do you compensate for different headsets, including like wired or wireless headsets? And is there any limitation on like the hardware of the platform?
That's a great question. I was actually answering it here. So if we're going to do these live, that makes it a lot easier.
I'm going to try to
perfect.
all these live
okay. So great question. Our sound therapy works by stimulating the cells at the barely audible level. So all that matters is that you use the same headphones when you're assessing your hearing for when you're delivering the sound therapy, because then the power levels and the signals will always be in sync and the same. So what you could hear at the barely audible level with one set of headphones, you will use those same ones to deliver the therapy. Any limitation on hardware or platform, we're just not available on a laptop, so we're mobile only today. And is there a dashboard to track the improvement? Yes, within the application, there is a progress screen where you can see all of your settings, your scores, and how much you've progressed over time.
And I think there's one further question from the same person. Is the left and right ear trained simultaneously with different specification? Is there a way to ensure right and left headphone is properly used? Especially for
Yes, they are trained simultaneously. So the left ear is going to be different from the right ear because our hearing is different in each one. So by assessing each one, we can create the right sound therapy for each ear. And then the second part, if so, is ensure the right and left arm properly used. Yes, we force the user to set their hardware volume at 60% so that it is in sync, again, when you take your assessment and deliver the sound therapy. And also we separate the files so that only the left ear files play on the left headphone and only the right ear files play on the right ear headphone.
Okay, I have one more question for you here, Chris. This person has a slight hearing loss at age 45, and now at 50, it's still the same, but have it tested every year. And I wants to send reports to you, and I'm wondering if AUDIOCARDIO can help. They use the Apple AirPod Pro with noise canceling option for the Zoom call. Does this noise canceling technology impact negatively to hearing in the long run?
Okay, so for the first question, absolutely, we can certainly give it a shot. I can provide my email here in the chat, or you guys can provide it. And yes, you can use Apple AirPod Pros with noise canceling. I use those every morning, so I use AUDIOCARDIO while I work out and listen to music, and I use these same exact headphones. When it comes to noise canceling, it's great for the hearing assessment so that we can block out the ambient noise and really find that true barely audible level or cusp of sound. So it's great for that. Does noise canceling technology impact negatively to hearing in the long run? It can. If you're wearing noise canceling headphones all the time, it does create some pressure in the ear, and that has been known to cause hearing damage. However, at least with our sound therapy, it's once a day, 1 hour, it's limited. So our technology would not be the reason for any type of damage over extended use.
Okay, and I remind everyone to keep their questions coming in if they have any here. Dr. Sugaya, regenerative medicine is kind of a hot topic, I think. Where do you see that going in the next 5 to 10 years? And, hair loss, it's important for some of us. So when is that realistically going to come to market? And, they've been talking about it for years. I'm happy like this, but, for some people.
I thought that you were going to question where such a drug compound, here it is, on my desk. But anyway, yeah, so then we have been talking about stem cell therapy long time, more than 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But nothing happened because there are lots of problems associated with cell therapy. You have to grow the cells, it has to be very clean and so on. And then on the top of that, for the hair growth, are you going to inject the cells a lot, like this way? No, you don't want to do that, right? And then that's my point. So then, of course, for the neurodegenerative diseases, they might not worry about making a hole in the skull, but still not that great. So then all the people, we have stem cells in our body. We have a natural way to regenerate our body. So that's the future. We're going to augment, we're going to accelerate those natural healing process. I think that's going to be the regenerative medicine. Like I say in the presentation, no stem cell or cell therapy. Of course, sometimes cell therapy may be needed. Actually, I have a technology to make a bone here because I ride a motorcycle and I broke my collarbone. And then I made a scaffold from the nanotechnology, put the cells, and then you can put in. So those things, maybe cell therapy is good, but the certain things, especially like a hair growth, no way to do the cell therapy. So then I think the drug therapy for the regenerative medicine, that's the future. That's all I like to do. Thank you.
You know, as a market, how do you see like the US versus Japan or maybe the EU, you know, for regenerative medicine? And are there advantages to being in one country for, you know, doing research or anything like that, clinical trials?
Actually, the clinical trial wise, my company in Japan is so young, but still we got so much tremendous inquiry for the licensing, for the investment, and so on. And then the clinical trial wise, we need a huge amount of the money. So then we are waiting for that. But in US, for example, we are doing the cancer therapy as well. That's to eliminate all the cancer, what can I say? In a cancer, some of the cells we cannot kill at all. That we call the cancer, stem cells, cancer stem cells, right? So then those cells, bad stem cells, we cannot kill. But with our technology, we can 100%, we can kill off those, right? So those technology development may be easier in the US than Japan because the US have a fast track system. Japanese fast track system a little bit different. So I see a little bit different, but yes. But we are attracting a lot of interest. Thank you for JETRO.
Thank you for working with JETRO. And Jeff, you've mentioned that you're kind of tackling some international markets. What's your maybe strategy with Japan? And are you looking towards a partnership model, or how do you think that might? I know it's not going to happen tomorrow, but maybe
yeah, I think absolutely. The partnership model is probably what works best. We're looking right now for what helped us. Like we want to do the way things worked in India. In India, we had a strategic investor that approached us because of the issue that they have with stroke and traumatic brain injury in that country. So if we had a similar situation where there's Japanese investment that is interested in our company because of what we, the technology that we could deliver, it works to be a great partnership. So if we could develop a significant strategic partnership to go into country with, I think it helps us very much. I think going from American company to going to Japan, it's very good to have that kind of relationship, the local relationship in country, to help us gain a better foothold within country. So I absolutely would want to go that way. And, we're trying. We've been working with other groups aside JETRO, and, I'm hoping very much to have it happen.
Yeah, we hope to continue to support you, obviously, here at Japanese companies in North America, but in Japan too, once this pandemic.
Yeah, we're very complementary. There's a lot of imaging companies in Japan.
Yes.
And, we are not out there trying to replace CAT scan, but our device is very complementary to CAT scan. Through early detection and through proper triage, it's going to be driving, patients to get into a CAT scan earlier so that, we're able to see the results of what's going on much sooner than possibly happens now. So, we're complementary to that. We really don't compete with it.
Thank you. A couple more questions here for Chris, I noticed in the chat. Does your AUDIOCARDIO technology, does it work for severely hearing impaired person, like someone perhaps 90 years old or with severe hearing loss?
It really depends on where they are, how severe their hearing is. We go up to 84 decibels, meaning if their lowest threshold is 84, and there's a reason for that, it's more liability, not so much a capability of what we do. because we deliver our therapy for an hour a day, that's kind of what the World Health Organization says is the upper limit for an hour a day that's safe and or not necessarily effective in terms of what they're saying, but just safe for listening. And so the answer is we can try. It really just depends on where they are in terms of how severe their hearing loss is.
And can your therapy help with reducing or eliminating tinnitus?
So tinnitus or tinnitus is a symptom. It is not a condition. So, and tinnitus is often a symptom of hearing loss. And there's other reasons too, but if it is because of hearing loss, we have been known to help people with tinnitus. We have multiple testimonials from people who had tinnitus for days on end. One gentleman in the Bay Area, in the San Francisco Bay Area, had to quit his job, retired early, had tinnitus for days on end. And his quote to us was, it was robbing him the joy of life. And he wondered if he was going to live like this for the rest of it. After using our therapy for over about 6 to 8 weeks, he said it had been reduced to a point where he was only getting it a few hours a week, which was a huge impact for him. And then for some others, we have been told that it has gone away completely.
Jeff, is your technology available in Canada yet? I don't think so. I think you mentioned that it's coming down the road, correct?
We're not commercial yet. So as soon as we get FDA approval here in the States, we'll file for Canada. But what I did discuss in my presentation is we are already pursuing partnerships up in Canada, Quebec, and the province of Quebec, City of Montreal, have been very aggressive in getting us up there. Our application, even though we use it for, as I said, stroke and traumatic brain injury now, to be able to transfer it across other neurological diseases is going to be very important. And in Montreal, they have a very strong radio frequency engineering capability that comes out of McGill and the University of Montreal. So we want to leverage that. So we'll be setting up a subsidiary there soon.
Okay, well, I wanted to thank everybody for the presentations. I don't see too many more questions coming in here, but I wanted to leave everybody the opportunity to kind of give a closing comment on however you would like to close. So why don't we start with you, Jeff, since you started off the program?
Well, I thank you all for your time today. As I said earlier, we're very excited about the opportunity to move into the Japanese market. It's very important to us. I think it's, the technology that we could bring to market is of great need for for the people there. Stroke is a terrible problem globally, and traumatic brain injury as well. So we thank you for your time and hope we can get moving along and establish some business.
Thanks, Jeff. Dr. Sugaya?
Again, thank you so much, JETRO, and then everybody came to this session. So our company also has a very interest collaborating with the Japanese company, and then looking for the funding and so on. And then the Japanese market also very good. I originate from Japan, so I moved to US 30 years ago, but still I have my heart with Japan. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sugaya. And Chris, any final comments?
Yeah, thank you to JETRO and all the attendees here, and as well as the other companies. It was a great experience, and we are, of course, looking to expand into other markets, especially in Japan, due to the aging population, of course, and the focus on the different neurological issues like dementia and different ways of wanting to be kind of on the forefront of developing technology and delivering it to their population. So we're excited about the opportunities in Japan and the forward thinking. So we hope to be doing business in Japan very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you to all three of our speakers. We look forward to supporting you in Japan as JETRO. I'd like to also thank all of our attendees for coming today. I know we've been going through a lot of webinars here. As I mentioned, we have several more webinars coming up in the next couple of months, and we'll have some new topics too that you won't see on our JETRO USA webpage. So I would like to remind you to keep an eye on our webpage and look for upcoming topics. If there's any topics that you'd like to suggest, we would love for you to give us that information in the survey post event here. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in our next Jconnect webinar.